Uh, Good morning, everyone, Your Excellencies, members of the press, dear colleagues. Thank you very much for coming out this morning. Um, we're here to hear from the African group on the current position on the resolution we've been pushing, in drawing for the UN Convention to come here. So I'd like to invite the chair of the African group, His Excellency Dr. Chola Milambo, to deliver the remarks prepared for the African group. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that introduction, and thank you so much, colleagues, for coming here this morning at this very important time. My name is Chola Milambo. I'm the permanent representative from Zambia as chair of the Africa Group for November. I'm here joined by ambassador from Nigeria and ambassador from Eritrea. While I'm here with two PRs, the support is across the whole continent, 54 countries. Other PRs, we're sitting here on their behalf. I do want to first start by pointing out that it's worth noting that the Africa Group uses this microphone very sparingly, and when we do, it's very important. And so we sit here to deliver a very important note on behalf of Africa Group for something that is so cardinal to our development. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as the current chair of Africa Group, I have the honor to address this gathering on behalf of the group. Today marks a significant moment in our collective journey towards a more equitable and inclusive global tax system. The Africa Group has taken significant step forward with the proposal of a framework convention on international tax cooperation, a landmark initiative reflective of our collective commitment to fairness and inclusivity in the global tax system. We did issue a resolution just last week and are seeking its support. This framework convention is not merely a political document. It is a beacon of hope for developing countries that have long sought a voice in shaping the international tax norms. In addressing the critical shortcomings of the current tax system, which often sidelights the unique challenges and perspectives of developing nations. Our proposal acknowledges the contributions of existing bodies like the OECD and the UN Tax Committee, while also recognizing their limitations in fully representing the interests of all nations, particularly those in the developing world. The Convention's primary goal is to ensure that all countries, regardless of their size or economic power, have an economic seat at the table in setting the agenda for international tax cooperation. This is a step towards rectifying the historical imbalance in global tax governance, offering a more equitable platform for dialogue and decision-making. By establishing a more equitable tax system, we unlock greater potential for spending in critical sectors like healthcare and education, which are pivotal for Africa and the global South at large. The increased revenue generated will enable us to allocate resources where they are most needed, supporting sustainable growth and development. This approach is encompassed under the umbrella of sustainable development, ensuring that our initiative directly contributes to the SDGs, reflecting our shared commitment to a future where holistic progress and well-being is accessible to all. The human aspect of this convention cannot be overstated. By reforming the international financial system and ensuring fair taxation, we can significantly reduce the strain on international aid. More revenue for the Global South translates into less dependence on ODA, fostering a more self-reliant and resilient world economy. To our partners in the OECD, the EU, the US, and the UK, we appeal for your understanding on our shared humanity. This convention is not just a fiscal tool. It is a lifeline to millions who aspire for better healthcare, education, and a life of dignity. Your support is crucial in turning this vision into a reality. Looking ahead to 2025 Financing for Development Forum conference, this convention sets the stage for a more inclusive approach for global economic challenges. It is a step towards a future where sustainable development, encompassing economic growth and environmental stewardship, goes hand in hand. In essence, this convention is about humanizing our approach to global economics. It's about creating a system that serves not just economists, but the people at the core. It represents a commitment to a future where every nation, regardless of its economic stature, can thrive. In conclusion, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Africa Group, I appeal for collective effort and consensus in realizing this convention. Together, we can forge a global tax system that is truly representative, fair, and effective, benefiting every nation and every citizen. I really thank you for your attention and for your support.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for those insightful remarks. As indicated, the Framework Convention on International Tax Cooperation highlighted, is indeed a crucial step towards global economic fairness. By aligning our efforts, we can ensure that this initiative not only succeeds, but also becomes a model for future international cooperation. Your active participation through media campaigns and public discourse will be instrumental in amplifying the call for a more equitable global tax system. Together, we can make a significant difference in the pursuit of global justice and sustainable development. So I invite anybody for any comments or questions that will be directed to His Excellency.
Yeah, good morning, Your Excellencies. My name is Cecilia Olugwangba, News Agency of Nigeria. First, my question is on the level of support you have received so far from member states on this convention. How will you rate the level of support you have received so far from member states? And in terms of support from NGOs too, so what will you want, in what ways are you collaborating with non-governmental organizations to see that this convention is adopted? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cecilia. Any more questions or remarks?
Thank you so much for the question. I don't see any other question. But firstly, let me just point out, and I know that my fellow ambassadors in the room may want to comment on this issue, either directly to your question or to any other issue that they may have to share. But before I respond, I just want to point out that we also need to think of this resolution in very real terms. All right. If we have effective international tax cooperation, it changes a lot on the ground. We have more girls in school. We have more people with health care. We have more access resources for refugees, IDPs. We have better capacity to address gender issues. We are able to deal with even the issues of climate change. So it releases pressure from the ODA, Official Development Assistance budgets that are out there, all right? As we know, commitments already remain short, and therefore domestic resource mobilization really is the ultimate source of development financing, whether it's paying for debt, paying down debt, or whether it's for infrastructure development. It's domestic resource mobilization which ultimately resolves these issues. So I think I just wanted to add to that point. But to your question regarding the level of support, we are quite confident that this resolution will go through. We are continue to engage and receive support from various groups at the UN on this resolution. We did send it out just a few days ago, and we're confident that it will go through like it did last year. However, we seek a broad political endorsement of this initiative. Just as we seek an inclusive tax system, we also advocate for broad political endorsement of it. Perhaps ask my colleagues to step in.
Thank you very much indeed. I think the chair has actually given the most important element concerning fairness and inclusivity and what it means on the ground that we have a fairer tax system. Two other elements I think need to be added. One, and the chairman has raised this very well, this is not being done against anybody. We have seen a lot of colleagues saying there are other institutions that have garnered experience in this matter. I think as a teacher, I value addition of knowledge. But I also value the fact that we also learn by doing. We should also garner that experience by doing. We should therefore be on the table to also do this and to contribute in deepening the process of getting fairer taxation for governments. Next is to acknowledge that many countries, and that is true, have given support in capacity building to a number of countries in need. This is important. It's also part of the general rubric of our commitment to ourselves, to each other, to humanity. So there is nothing that is being done to oppose or to undervalue the support in several areas. We acknowledge, for example, after a long interaction, the U.S. supported the resolution. They had their concerns, but during the negotiation, they were very hard on certain things. But at the end of the day, they look at the totality of the picture and supported it. We are expecting others to do the same. Now, a lot of people may not see, but countries know that there is a strong connection between problems of taxation and illicit flows, financial, and their connection to crime, which destabilizes societies, which impacts a lot of people. So I think this is there. A lot of people supported it. They will support it. We continue to engage because it's still a negotiation. I think the chairman has said, again, there is continued engagement on this matter, and I am just recalling what he stated. I think this is important to understand. Africa is standing not only for itself, but for others who believe in fairness around the world. And that's why there's broad support. So I think that's demonstrated, at least for now, to respond to the more urgent questions raised. Thank you very much indeed.
I thank you. Good morning, colleagues. I echo all the sentiments that have been expressed this morning, but as a woman, as an African woman, and as a mother, I can tell you that on the ground for African women, African children, it's very important that the revenues that come from our countries, from our own resources, from our own development, is what creates development on the ground. ODA is great, but what we do on the ground for our people with our resources is what translates to basic standards of living, food security, water, education, and health. So let's not think that it's something that we're doing as a favor to anybody else, but it's something that should be congratulated, should be advanced by all sectors of this system here. And the financial institutions, we say they're in trouble. Why are they in trouble? It's not because there's no know-how or how it should work, but there's no political will. There has to be political will on this one here, and there is. I think we have a wide support from the various groups here, G77 in China, for instance. And I think with more advocacy, for lack of a better word, I think we can get what we want from this resolution, and it behooves us as Africans to also strive to get it and get it right this time. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. We often say in Africa, we seek African solutions to African challenges. And financing is the bedrock of development in Africa. And we also argue that we need to address our challenges, the root causes of our challenges, including in the area of peace and security. And sometimes we fail to connect the dots. All these things are linked. If you don't have enough financing in a country, your social contract is compromised. If government cannot reach every corner of a vast African country, instability emerges. So having sufficient revenues is an important thing. It cuts across many sectors. It addresses the core issues around peace and security. It addresses core issues around capacity building. It addresses core issues in infrastructure and climate. So it cuts across the SDGs. So the issue of political will that Her Excellency is talking about is a real thing. We need the political will to finance our SDGs. And we're confident that the many groups, especially in the Global South and our friends from the Global North, will see the value in this and having a comprehensive tax framework and support this resolution. I thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies, for those insightful remarks. We understand why we need this. This is not just for Africa. This is for the entire Global South. So we need a collective effort. If there aren't any remarks, okay, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Kaori Yoshida from Nikkei of Japan. I have two questions. Firstly, how does the resolution issued last week differ from the one from last year? And when do you plan to adopt this resolution? And secondly, you made an appeal in your remarks to the OECD, EU, US for support. In recent media reports, we've seen that negotiations haven't exactly been smooth. Can we get your take on how they've progressed so far?
Yes, we have several ambassadors in the room. I'd like to invite Ambassador from Ghana, who's been leading on the technical side, to at least address the difference in this resolution. You can probably identify.
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
Please.
How is this resolution different? And I think the second part of the question related to cooperating partners. Yeah, and I think we're appealing to all groups, not just the ones I mentioned, but also in the Global South, our friends in the G77 more broadly, who are already supporting us.
I'll respond from here, if Chair, you don't mind. But I think that last year, the resolution that we adopted was to set the basis of what we seek to do this year. And this year, the draft resolution essentially talks about two steps. One, to form an open-ended group that would establish by August 2024 the terms of reference of what we want to achieve, which is to set out how we're going to negotiate the framework Convention on International Tax Cooperation. And so that is a more significant and practical effort towards the objective that all of us have been talking about this morning, which is to ensure that the international tax cooperation regime enables us to ensure fairness and equity in the way and manner in which resources are managed in terms of the flows of resources from places where actual business activity takes place. So I think it's a more significant effort in this year's resolution in that it sets the pathway towards the achievement of the framework convention that we are talking about today.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Absolutely. Definitely builds on last year's resolution as indicated by His Excellency. We're calling for a framework convention, setting up a committee, which His Excellency said would develop the terms of reference moving forward. So we believe this is a step forward, definitely. So we invite everybody to get for the support, for involve the media, involve everybody so that we can see this. This is likely to go to a vote. We're expecting most likely next week. We're trying to get all the maximum support we can get so that we see this come to the light of day. So I invite anybody for any further questions or remarks.
Hello, can you hear me online?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, great. My name is Anare. I'm asking a question on behalf of Al Jazeera English and on behalf of the UN Correspondents Association. Thank you very much for this briefing. So my question is to the panel regarding, I suppose, what is the gap between political will and public awareness? You know, I think all of us in the UN, particularly those in the panel, understand that Africa's illicit flows of financial flows out of Africa outweighs the amount of financial flows in terms of aid into Africa. But that's something that seems to be missing in common conversation. How is this panel, this group of us gathered here, going to make the gap? I suppose particularly you've talked about profit shifting and how Africans need to profit from the resources in Africa. But what do we need to do to get public awareness around the issues when it comes to tax reform, illicit financial flows, and the need to prevent profit shifting away from the citizens of Africa?
Thank you.
Thank you. Just to recognize that we have other ambassadors. We heard from ambassador from Ghana, we have ambassador from Mali, Senegal, and we have Cabo Verde, don't see any, and Guinea, my brother there. Apologies. And Guinea. And so would welcome any other ambassador to step forward and just address the issue of public awareness. Excellencies, anybody? Yeah, all right, then it falls with the chair. I think part of the strategy is exactly what we're doing right now, is to have this outreach to the rest of the world on the importance of this matter. But it also falls on the media fraternity to explain this gap in several ways. I do believe that we have several other discussions coming up over the next 1 year, and we're going to 2025. I think at every moment they were supposed to highlight the gap that is there. And I think also the outcome of the resolution itself should speak to the issues. That would be a message in itself to the world. But we count on the media to really translate what's happening in the UN in very basic language to different constituencies across the world.
I think with the permission of the chair, we just add what is already obvious before us and we don't see it. A lot of this issue concerning fairer taxation, while pushed by African heads of state and government, plus other from their peers elsewhere. But a lot of this discussion has also profited from NGOs, civil society organizations around the world that are focused on fairer taxation, including here in the United States. There are academic institutions and think tanks that have made this more like their life work. So it's an ongoing discussion, but obviously there is always need to communicate better and in different fora. Thank you.
Your Excellencies, for those. Any more remarks? Any questions? We close it now? Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, again, for all the the questions and remarks, and Excellencies for delivering your statement, and other Excellencies for your comments. We implore everybody to keep this message flying. Please talk to anyone you know, members of the media, send WhatsApp messages, send to Capital. Just continue doing whatever you're doing, please, so that we can succeed and bring this forward. So on that note, I will close the meeting now, and thank you very much for coming.